The blood moon eclipse hung over the Silver Peak Assembly grounds, casting crimson shadows across the gathered pack. Lyra Lee stood in the center of the stone circle, her wrists bound with ceremonial silver chains that burned against her skin. Around her, hundreds of wolves had gathered to witness her humiliation. Lyra Lee of the eastern border, Beta Corveth's voice rang out across the silent crowd. You stand accused of the gravest deception. For 3 years, you have hidden your defect from the pack. Lyrelei kept her chin high despite the trembling in her legs. She could feel their disgust pressing against her like a physical weight, all except for the scents themselves. Where other wolves could read emotions, intentions, and truths through pheromones, she sensed nothing but empty air. Scent blind, someone hissed from the crowd, an Omega who can't even smell her own kind. Useless, another voice called out. Dead weight. Her younger sister Tavira stood at the crowd's edge, tears streaming down her face, held back by 2 enforcers. At barely 16, Tavira was too young to challenge pack law, too weak to fight for her sister's freedom. The law is clear, Corveth continued, his scarred face twisted with satisfaction. He had waited years for this moment, ever since Lyrelei had refused his advances. An Omega who cannot smell cannot serve, cannot mate, cannot contribute. The pack's resources are precious, especially with winter approaching. I've served as a healer for 5 years, Lyrelei said, her voice carrying despite her fear. My condition has never... Silence, Corveth snarled. You've hidden behind your pretty face and your mother's reputation long enough. But your mother is dead, and her protection died with her. The crowd murmured its agreement. Lyrelei's mother had been the pack's most gifted healer, respected despite being an Omega. But she died 6 months ago, and without her shield, Lyrelei's secret had been exposed by a jealous pack member who'd seen her fail to react to a dominance display. You have 2 choices, Corveth announced. Accept your rejection and leave Packlands forever, or face execution for your deception. Lyrelei's throat constricted. Rejection meant becoming rogue, literally wolfless, packless, as good as dead. Winter was coming, and lone wolves didn't survive the frozen months. But execution meant Tavira would be orphaned, left to Corveth's mercy. She looked at her sister's terrified face and made her choice. I need neither option, Lyrelei said, her voice growing stronger. I invoke the right of last testament. Corveth's eyes narrowed. You have no right to... Every wolf facing rejection has the right to speak their truth, Lyra Lee interrupted. It's pack law, older than your beta position, Corveth. The crowd stirred uneasily. She was right, and they knew it. Lyra Lee took a deep breath, feeling her wolf stir inside her chest. Weak as always, but present. You call me defective, she began, her voice carrying unexpected authority. Useless, a burden. You say I cannot smell, therefore I cannot serve. But I have seen more truth without scent than most of you have seen with it. Enough of this, Corveth started. I've watched you, Beta Corveth, steal from pack stores while others starved. I've seen you strike Omegas where bruises won't show. I don't need scent to see corruption. It shows in actions. The crowd had gone very still. Several wolves were now looking at Corveth with new suspicion. And if the pack rejects me for the defect I was born with, Lyrelei continued, then I will not beg for mercy. I will not run like prey. She straightened her spine, raised her bound hands to the eclipse above, and spoke the words that would seal her fate. I accept my fate as a rejected Omega. The words rang out with such force that several wolves stepped back. I accept that I am scent blind. I accept that I am different. And I accept that if this pack has no place for those who are different, then perhaps I have no place here. The silence that followed was absolute. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Then, from the shadows beyond the circle, came a voice that made every wolf present drop to their knees. She will not be rejected. The figure that stepped from the darkness moved like smoke given form. Lyrelai, still standing while every other wolf knelt, watched him approach with confusion. She couldn't smell what the others clearly could, the overwhelming presence that had reduced proud warriors to trembling pups. He wore traveling clothes, dusty and worn, with a deep hood that shadowed his face. But his voice, that voice carried a power that seemed to resonate in her very bones. "Who dares interrupt pack judgment?" Corveth managed to stammer from his knees, though sweat beaded on his forehead. The stranger pushed back his hood, and Lyrali's breath caught. He was magnificent and terrible at once, sharp cheekbones, eyes that held the glow of an alpha wolf, but something more, something ancient. Scars traced patterns across his neck that looked almost like ritual marks. "I am Carrion Valdris," he said simply. The name hit the pack like a physical blow. Several wolves whimpered. Even Corveth went pale. Valdris, the royal bloodline, the Alpha King's own family name. But that was impossible. The Alpha King ruled from the northern citadel 1,000 miles away. He never traveled to border packs, never involved himself in local justice. You cannot be," Corveth whispered. Carrion's eyes flashed gold, and his power rolled over the assembly grounds like thunder. "Do you question me, Beta?" "No, my lord," Corveth gasped. "But the Alpha King travels with guards, with ceremony." "I dismissed my guard weeks ago," Carrion stated, traveling alone to investigate the plague spreading through border territories. Sometimes truth requires discretion. He walked past the kneeling wolves, straight to Lyrelai. "You would reject a healer who served you faithfully? Cast out a wolf for being born different?" He stopped directly in front of her. This close, Lyrelai could see his eyes were not just gold, but held flecks of silver and blue, like a winter sunrise. He studied her face with an intensity that made her heart race. "You can't smell me," he said. It wasn't a question. "No," Lyrelai admitted. "I can't smell anyone." Something flickered across his features. Surprise? Interest? "And yet you stood while others knelt. You spoke truth while others cowered." He reached out, and with one claw sliced through the silver chains binding her wrists. "Tell me, little healer, do you know why the moon is eclipsed tonight?" Lyrelai rubbed her burned wrists. "The lunar eclipse. It happens every 50 years. "Every 50 years," he agreed, "on the night when the moon goddess chooses her marked ones. The night when true mates can recognize each other without scent, without touch, by soul alone." The pack stirred uneasily. True mates were legend, pairs so perfectly matched that they could share thoughts, power, even life force. "That's just a story," Lyrelai said. Carrion smiled then, and it transformed his harsh features into something almost beautiful. "Is it? Then explain why I felt your call from 100 miles away. Why your words of acceptance rang through every alpha bond in the territory. Why the eclipse itself seemed to pulse when you spoke." He turned to address the pack, though his eyes never left hers. "This Omega will not be rejected. She is under royal protection." "My lord," Corveth dared to speak, his tone carefully measured. "The pack law states that an Omega may be rejected for inability to serve," Carrion interrupted. "This healer has served. Pack law also states that any wolf may claim right of advocacy for the condemned." He looked down at Lyrelai, and something in his gaze made her shiver. "I claim that right." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Advocacy meant taking full responsibility for the condemned wolf. If she failed, if she proved unworthy, the advocate would share her punishment. "You can't," Lyrelai whispered. "You don't even know me." "Don't I?" He leaned closer, and she caught his scent, not through her nose but somewhere deeper. Ancient forests and lightning storms, power and wildness barely contained. "Tell me you don't feel it, little healer. Tell me your wolf doesn't recognize mine." Her wolf, usually so quiet, was practically howling inside her. But that was impossible. She'd never reacted to any wolf before, never felt the pull others described. The eclipse has chosen, Carrion announced to the pack. And I have claimed. Does anyone challenge? Silence stretched. Then Corveth spoke carefully. My lord, perhaps you should know. There have been incidents. Wolves dying of mysterious illness. My own warriors have been investigating strange movements in our territory. Your warriors? Carrion's tone sharpened. A select group loyal to pack security, Corveth said smoothly. They've been tracking rogues who gather at our borders. Then where are these warriors now? Stationed throughout the territory, watching for threats. Corveth's eyes glinted. Should I summon them? That won't be necessary. Carrion turned back to Lyrelai. You will come with me. Wait, Lyrelai pulled back. My sister will be protected, he assured her. No harm will come to any under your care. Tavira broke free from her guards and ran to Lyrelai, throwing her arms around her waist. Lyra, don't leave me. I won't, Lyra promised, though she had no idea how she could keep that vow. She looked up at Carrion. If I come with you, my sister comes too. His eyes narrowed slightly, studying her. You would make demands of an Alpha King? I would make requests of my advocate, she replied steadily. Something like approval flickered in his gaze. Very well, the child may come. He stepped back, addressing the pack once more. Send word to the northern citadel. The king has found something precious in your borderlands. His eyes fixed on Corveth. And if any harm comes to those under my protection while I'm gone, I will take it very personally. Corveth's face was a mask of rage, but he bowed. Of course, my lord. As Carrion led them away from the assembly grounds, Lyrali's mind raced. Why had he really come? What did he mean about feeling her call? And why did her wolf react to him when she'd never responded to another wolf in her life? Behind them, she heard Corveth dismiss the pack, his voice tight with fury. This wasn't over. She could feel it. But as they walked toward the pack house where Carrion would presumably stay, something else caught her attention. In the shadows between buildings, she glimpsed movement. Yellow eyes watched them, multiple pairs, tracking their every step. My lord, she whispered. We're being followed. Carrion didn't turn, but she saw him smile. Yes, they've been following me for weeks. Who are they? Rogues, he said simply. Rejected wolves like you almost were. They've been gathering in the borderlands, hunting something. Hunting what? He stopped then, turning to look at her with an expression she couldn't read. Tell me, little healer, has anything strange happened in your pack recently? Wolves disappearing? Mysterious illnesses? Lyrelai's blood chilled. 3 wolves have died in the last month. The healer, my mother, couldn't determine the cause. She died trying to cure the last one. Carrion's eyes flashed. Died? Or was killed? Before she could answer, a howl split the night. Then another. And another. The rogues weren't just watching anymore. They were surrounding them. Get behind me, Carrion commanded, his body already shifting into a defensive stance. Lyrelai pulled Tavira close, her heart hammering as shadows detached from buildings all around them. 6, 7, 8 wolves emerged, their eyes gleaming feral yellow in the moonlight. But something was wrong with them. Their fur was patchy, their movements twitchy, almost rabid. Stay calm, Carrion said quietly. They're not here for you. How do you know? Lyrelai whispered. Because they're here for me. The largest rogue, a scarred gray wolf, shifted to human form. His body was covered in strange marks, not scars but symbols that seemed to writhe under his skin. Alpha King, the rogue rasped, his voice rough from disuse. We've waited so long for you to come alone. Javan, Carrion acknowledged. I thought you were dead. Death would have been kinder than what they did to us. Javan's eyes flickered to Lyrelai, but we survived. We adapted. And now we've found you at the perfect moment, when the eclipse weakens even kings. What do you want? Carrion demanded. Javan's laugh was bitter. Justice, truth, and most of all, his gaze fixed on Lorelei, the moon healer who can end this nightmare. Moon healer? Lorelei frowned. I'm just a healer. Just a healer who heard an Alpha King's call across 100 miles? Just a healer whose mother died studying a plague that shouldn't exist? Javan stepped closer. During my years as a rogue, I've pieced together fragments of ancient texts. The eclipse prophecy speaks of one like you. Don't listen to him, Carrion warned. But Javan continued. The Alpha King has been searching for you specifically. A healer who could survive the moon plague, the same plague that's been killing wolves and border packs. Lorelei's mind raced. The illness that killed my mother? Not an illness, Javan said. A weapon. Created by the Northern Citadel to control rogue populations. Only the Alpha King has the antidote. You're lying, Carrion said, but Lorelei heard something in his voice. Not denial, but desperation. Am I? Then why are you really here, Your Majesty? Why did you come to this insignificant pack on this specific night? The rogues were closing in, their circle tightening. Tavira whimpered, pressing closer to Lorelei. Tell her, Javan demanded. Tell her why you knew exactly where to find her. Tell her about the dreams. Carrion's jaw clenched. This isn't the time. The dreams? Lorelei interrupted, a memory surfacing. I've been having dreams. For weeks. A voice calling to me, telling me to be strong, to wait for the eclipse. Javan's smile was vicious. The moon healer, one born every generation with the power to heal what shouldn't be healed. Your mother discovered multiple vials of the plague in our territory. Someone's been spreading it deliberately. Carrion moved faster than lightning. One moment he was standing beside Lorelei, the next he had Javan by the throat. Enough, he commanded, his voice carrying alpha authority. But Javan just laughed, even as Carrion's claws drew blood. You can't command us anymore. The plague freed us from pack bonds. The other rogues attacked simultaneously. Run! Carrion shouted, throwing Javan aside to meet the charge. But Lorelei couldn't move. As the first rogue reached them, something exploded inside her. Power, raw and ancient, burst from her core. Her hands glowed with lunar energy, and when she threw them forward, a barrier of pure moonlight erupted around them. The rogues slammed into it and were thrown backward, howling in pain. Everyone froze. Impossible, Javan gasped from where he'd fallen. You really are the moon healer, the rarest gift, given to one wolf per generation. The power to heal or destroy, to break bonds or forge them. That's why you came? Lorelei said to Carrion, understanding flooding through her. You knew what I was. I suspected, he admitted quietly. The dreams were a test. Only a moon healer could hear an alpha's call across such distance. And you need me to cure the plague. Yes, the plague you created. Carrion's silence was damning. The mighty Alpha King, Javan laughed, forced to seek help from the very type of wolf the plague was designed to eliminate. Tell me, Your Majesty, how many Omegas have died from your weapon? It wasn't meant for Omegas, Carrion said through gritted teeth. It was designed to target rogues, wolves who threatened pack stability. But it mutated, Javan continued, started killing anyone with weakened wolf spirits, Omegas, elders, pups. Lorelei felt sick. My mother was trying to find a cure, Carrion said. I've been searching for you for 2 years, since the plague first mutated. The dreams were my last hope, a call sent through the Alpha Network to find someone with your gift. And if I hadn't answered? His expression was grim. Then half the wolf population would be dead within a year. Including you, Javan added with satisfaction. The plague has reached the Northern Citadel, hasn't it? Even now, you can feel it in your blood, the weakness, the slow burn. Lyrelai looked at Carrion more closely. Now that she knew what to look for, she could see it. The slight tremor in his hands, the sweat on his brow despite the cool night, the way he favored his left side. "You're infected," she breathed. "We all are," Javan said. "Every wolf who's been exposed carries it now. Some die fast, some slow, but all die eventually. Unless... Unless what? Unless the Moon Healer makes a choice." Javan's smile was predatory. "You can cure the plague, little Omega, but the cure requires a sacrifice. A life for a life, and Alpha's blood for Omega's salvation." He gestured to Carrion. "So what will it be? Save the king who created this plague, or let him die and save the rest of us?" Before anyone could respond, the sound of running paws filled the air. The pack was coming, drawn by the commotion. "We're not done," Javan promised, as he and his rogues melted back into shadows. "The eclipse lasts 3 nights. You have until then to decide who lives and who dies." They vanished just as Corveth arrived with his warriors, the ones he'd mentioned earlier. "My lord," Corveth said, taking in the scene, "are you harmed?" "No," Carrion replied, though Lyrelai could see the effort it took to stand straight. "The rogues are gone. For now." He turned to Lyrelai. "We need to talk. Privately." But as he took a step toward her, his eyes rolled back, and the Alpha King collapsed. "Get him inside, quickly," Lyrelai commanded, her healer instincts overriding her shock. Corveth's warriors hesitated, looking to their beta for direction. His face twisted with calculation. The Alpha King was vulnerable, unconscious. This was an opportunity. "Did you not hear her?" Tavira spoke up with surprising courage. "The king claimed her as protected. That makes her word law until he wakes." "The child is right." Elder Mayleith emerged from the crowd, the ancient healer leaning heavily on her staff. "Bring him to the healing chambers. Now." The warriors finally moved, lifting Carrion's unconscious form. As they carried him, Lyrelai noticed dark corruption spreading up his neck, the plague advancing rapidly. In the healing chambers, Lyrelai worked frantically. Her hands glowed with celestial power as she pressed them to Carrion's chest, but the plague fought back, dark energy wrestling with her moonlight. "It's too strong," she gasped. "It's like it knows me, like it's been designed to resist." "Because it has," Mayleith said quietly. She'd dismissed the others, leaving only Lyrale, Tavira, and herself. "Child, there are things you need to know. About your mother. About what she discovered before she died." "What things?" The elder pulled out a worn journal. "Your mother's notes. She discovered multiple vials of pure plague hidden in the pack stores. Someone was deliberately infecting wolves. She also found an ancient scroll about something called the Moonbridge Ritual." "Where is this scroll now?" "Corveth took it after your mother's death. Claimed it was pack property. Your mother suspected he was working with someone, spreading the plague to wolves who challenged his authority." A chill ran down Lyrelai's spine. "You think Corveth killed her?" "I think your mother was murdered for getting too close to the truth." Before Lyrelai could respond, Carrion's body convulsed. His eyes snapped open, but they weren't his normal gold. They were pure black. "Too late," he rasped in a voice not entirely his own. "The plague has reached my wolf." "No." Lyrelai pressed her hands harder against his chest, pouring more power into him. "I won't let you die." "You don't understand," he gasped. "If an Alpha King dies from the plague, it spreads through every pack bond. Every wolf connected to the Northern Throne will be infected instantly." "How many wolves?" "Thousands?" Tavira grabbed Lyrelai's arm. "Lyra, your nose—" Blood was dripping from Lyrelai's nose, the cost of using so much power. But she didn't stop. "There has to be another way," she insisted. Carrion's hand caught hers, his touch burning with fever. "There is. But you won't like it." "Tell me." The mate bond, he whispered. If we were fully bonded, true mates, you could share the plague's burden. Your moon magic could burn it out of both of us. But we're not. The eclipse makes it possible. Even without scent, even with the plague. But his expression darkened. It would bind us permanently. No breaking it. Ever. Do it. Everyone turned to stare at Tavira. Tavi, you don't understand, Lyreley began. I understand that if he dies, thousands die, including us. And I understand that he came here to save you from Corveth. Her young eyes were fierce. Mom would say the choice is obvious. A crash echoed from outside, followed by howls. Melith rushed to the window. Rogues! Dozens of them! They're attacking the pack house! They're creating chaos! Carrion struggled to sit up. Javan knows if I die during an attack, it'll look like they killed me. No one will suspect. He coughed, blood spattering his lips. Decide now, little healer, Melith urged. We're out of time. Lyreley looked at Carrion. This stranger who was the enemy, the creator of the plague killing her people, but also the wolf who'd saved her from rejection. She thought of her mother, who'd died trying to find a cure, of the thousands who would die if she didn't act. How do we form the bond? She asked. A blood exchange under the moon's light, sealed with a mark, Carrion said. But Lyreley, once done. I know. She helped him stand, supporting his weight. We need to get to the roof. Under the eclipse. They stumbled through the chaos. Pack wolves fought rogues in the corridors. Behind them, Corveth's voice rang out, directing his warriors with suspicious precision. On the roof, the blood moon eclipse bathed everything in red light. Carrion collapsed to his knees, the plague marks covering half his face now. Tell me what to do, Lyreley demanded. Your blood on my lips, mine on yours. Then, he hesitated. Then I have to bite you. Mark you as mine, and you have to mark me in return. Will it hurt? His laugh was pained. Everything worth doing hurts. Lyreley didn't hesitate. She bit her own wrist, letting blood well up, then pressed it to his mouth. He did the same, his blood touching her lips. It tasted of ancient power and wild storms. Immediately she felt it, a connection sparking to life. Not complete, but building. Now the mark, he gasped. He pulled her close, his breath hot against her neck. I'm sorry for this, he whispered, then his teeth sank into the junction of her neck and shoulder. Pain exploded through her, but underneath it was something else. Connection, belonging, home. She could feel him, really feel him, for the first time. His determination, his guilt over the plague, his desperate hope that she could save them all. And underneath it all, something that made her gasp. He'd been dreaming of her for months, long before the plague reached her pack. The dreams hadn't been just a test. They'd been a lonely king calling out to his mate. Your turn, he managed, baring his throat. Lyreley's wolf rose up, stronger than ever before. She bit down where his neck met his shoulder, marking him as hers. The world exploded. Power rushed between them, silver and gold mixing, moon and sun united. The plague hit the combined force of their bond and screamed. She felt it burning away, destroyed by something it was never designed to fight. True mate magic, the rarest power in wolf history. When the light faded, they were both on their knees, foreheads pressed together, breathing hard. It worked, Carrion whispered. I can't feel the plague anymore. Neither can I. She could feel other things, though. His emotions, his thoughts at the edges of her mind, his wolf calling to hers. A slow clap echoed across the roof. They turned to find Corveth standing there, holding Tavira with a knife to her throat. Behind him stood his warriors, the same ones who'd been suspiciously prepared for tonight's events. How touching, the Beta sneered. The Alpha King and his broken Omega. Too bad you won't live to enjoy your bond. Let her go, Lyreley commanded, her wolf rising. I don't think so. You see, I've been working with Javan for months. The plague? I've been spreading it, yes, but not for the reason you think. His smile was vicious. Every wolf who dies from it rises again, changed, bound to serve whoever holds the plague's source. He pulled out a vial of black liquid, one of 3 pure strains I found in your mother's stores. With these, I can build an army of plague wolves, starting with your precious sister. No. Lyreley lunged forward, but Corveth pressed the knife harder against Tavira's throat. One more step, and she dies the old-fashioned way. What do you want? Carrion demanded, struggling to stand. What I've always wanted. Power. Give me the Northern Throne, name me your heir, and I'll let the girl live. You're insane, Carrion stated. Am I? Look around. Half your pack is already infected. By dawn, they'll all serve me. Unless... He smiled. The Moon Healer agrees to serve me instead. Your power could make me unstoppable. He pressed the vial against Tavira's lips. Choose quickly. Your sister's life. Or your freedom. The eclipse pulsed overhead, and Lyreley felt something stirring in her chest. Not just her magic, not just the mate bond, but something else. Something ancient and powerful that had been waiting for this moment. I choose neither, she said, and her voice carried the weight of the moon itself. What? Corveth's eyes widened as Lyrali began to glow. You forgot something, Beta, she said, rising to her feet. I'm the Moon Healer, bonded to an Alpha King under an eclipse. Power exploded from her, but Corveth had already started pouring the plague down Tavira's throat. No, Lyreley screamed, but it was too late. Tavira's eyes rolled back, shadow lines spreading across her young face as she collapsed. Tavira's body convulsed on the roof tiles, plague marks spreading like spiderwebs across her skin. Lyrali dropped beside her sister, lunar glow pouring from her hands, but the plague fought back viciously. It's different, she gasped, stronger than what infected you. Because it's the pure strain, Corveth said, still holding the empty vial. Undiluted. She has minutes, maybe less. Carrion lunged at the Beta, but Corveth's warriors intercepted him, silver chains wrapping around his limbs. In his weakened state, still recovering from his own near death, he couldn't break free. Stop fighting and listen, Corveth commanded. The girl doesn't have to die. The pure plague can be directed, controlled. Swear a blood oath to serve me Lyrale, and I'll save her. You can't save her, Lyreley said. You don't have that power. No, but you do. He pulled out an ancient scroll. The Moonbridge ritual from your mother's belongings. It allows a moon healer to transfer life force from one wolf to another. You could put your own life force into your sister. Burn out the plague with your essence. Of course, his smile was cruel. It would leave you permanently weakened. Unable to use your powers against me. Tavira's breathing was becoming labored, each breath a wet rattle. Lyreley, don't, Carrion managed through gritted teeth. If you're weakened, the mate bond will... Will what? She demanded. Will pull life force from me to sustain you. We're bonded now. If you sacrifice your power, you'll drain mine too. The Northern Throne would be defenseless. How unfortunate, Corveth said with false sympathy. Save your sister and doom the kingdom, or let her die and keep your power. The choice is yours. But as Lyrali looked at Tavira's pale face, she realized there was a third option, one Corveth hadn't considered. The Moonbridge ritual, she said slowly. It transfers life force. Yes. Any life force? Corveth's eyes narrowed. What are you... The plague is alive, isn't it? It has its own dark life force. She stood, power crackling around her. What if instead of transferring my life to Tavira, I transfer the plague's life into something else? That's impossible, Corveth scoffed. The plague can't be moved? But you just said it could be directed, controlled. Lyrale's hands began glowing brighter. And I'm bonded to an Alpha King. Do you know what that means? She could feel Carrion's understanding through their bond, felt him gathering his strength. It means I have access to the Alpha Command of the entire Northern Territory, she continued. Every wolf, every bond, every connection. You wouldn't dare, Corveth stepped back. If you try to transfer the plague through the pack bonds, not through them, into one specific bond. She met his eyes. Yours. Corveth's face went white. I'm not bonded to anyone. Aren't you? Lyra Lee smiled coldly. Every beta is bonded to their pack. And you've been spreading the plague for months. It's in your blood, your bones, your wolf. You're already infected, just controlled. What happens if I take that control away? She didn't wait for an answer. Pulling on her moon magic and Carrion's alpha power simultaneously, she reached out to the plague in Tavira's body. It resisted at first, then began to move, drawn by her will. No! Corveth lunged for her, but his own warriors stepped back, suddenly uncertain. The plague flowed out of Tavira and hung in the air like a dark cloud. Lyrelei could feel its hunger, its need to infect, to spread. She turned that hunger toward Corveth. You wanted an army of plague wolves, she said. Congratulations, you get to be the first. The black cloud slammed into Corveth. He screamed as his own creation turned on him, the pure strain he'd been immune to now recognizing him as a threat. Dark veins exploded across his skin, his eyes going completely black. Help! Me! He gasped, falling to his knees. The way you helped my mother? Lyrelei asked coldly. The way you helped all those wolves you infected? But even as Corveth writhed in agony, Javan's voice echoed from the stairwell. Impressive, Moon Healer. But you've only solved one problem. The rogue Alpha appeared with dozens of plague wolves behind him, not his original rogues, but pack members who'd been infected during the fight. Their eyes were all black, moving in unnatural synchronization. Corveth gave me the other 2 vials. Javan held them up, both glowing with sickly green light. And plague wolves respond to whoever holds the source. Destroy them, Carrion commanded, finally breaking free from his chains. Destroy the only thing that could cure them all? How noble. Javan gestured to the plague wolves. Each of these was someone's family, friend, packmate. Kill the source, and they all die. Don't, and they serve me. Tavira stirred weakly in Lyrelei's arms, alive but barely conscious. Around them, more plague wolves appeared on the roof, the infection spreading faster than wildfire. You have seconds to decide, Javan said. Join me, and I'll cure them. Refuse, and I'll order them to tear this entire pack apart, starting with the pups in the nursery. Lyrelei felt something shift in the air. The eclipse above pulsed once, twice, and she heard something impossible. Her mother's voice, carried on the wind. The moon provides, my daughter. Remember what I taught you. Life and death are cycles. What dies under the eclipse can be reborn. She understood. Carry on, she said through their bond. Trust me. Then, before anyone could stop her, she grabbed both vials from Javan's hand and drank them all. The pure plague hit Lyrelei's system like liquid fire. She collapsed, her body convulsing as the darkness spread through her veins. But instead of fighting it, she embraced it, pulling it deeper into her core where her moon magic resided. What have you done? Javan roared. Through her bond, she felt Carrion's terror and forced herself to send one thought. Watch. The plague reached her moon magic, and something unprecedented happened. Instead of consuming her power, the 2 forces began to merge. Light and dark swirling together, creating something entirely new. A silver-black energy that pulsed with the rhythm of the eclipse. Impossible, Javan breathed. Lyrali rose to her feet, her eyes now swirling silver and black. She could feel every plague wolf in the territory, every infected cell, every trace of the darkness Corveth and Javan had spread. But more than that, she could feel the wolves trapped within. their spirits crying out for freedom. "You forgot something," she said, her voice echoing with otherworldly power. "I'm not just a moon healer. I'm a healer whose mother died studying this plague. She left me everything: her notes, her research, her discoveries." She raised her hands, and the infected wolves all turned to look at her. "The plague doesn't kill the wolf spirit," she continued. "It imprisons it, and a prison can be broken from the inside." Through her mate bond, she pulled on Carrion's alpha command, but instead of ordering the wolves, she sent them something else: her own memories of freedom, of choice, of the moment she accepted her fate as a rejected Omega and found her strength. One by one, the plague wolves began to shake their heads, fighting against the darkness. "Stop them," Javan ordered, but his commands fell on deaf ears. "You have no power here," Lyrelai told him. "The plague responds to whoever holds its source. And now that source is me." She walked toward him, each step leaving silver-black footprints that gleamed in the moonlight. "But unlike you, I don't want slaves. I want to free them." She pressed her glowing hand to the nearest plague wolf's forehead. The darkness shattered like glass, revealing a confused but free pack member beneath. "No!" Javan shifted to wolf form, massive and scarred, lunging for her throat. Carrion intercepted him mid-leap, the two alphas crashing together in a tangle of fangs and fury. But Javan had years of rogue survival while Carrion was still weakened. Within moments, Javan had him pinned. "You should have stayed in your citadel," Javan said. "Now watch your mate die." He turned toward Lyrelai, but she didn't move, didn't flinch. Instead, she smiled. "You still don't understand," she said. "The plague is mine now. Every wolf you infected, every drop of darkness you spread, it all answers to me." She opened her arms wide, and every plague wolf on the roof, every infected pack member, turned to face Javan. "But I won't command them to attack you," she said. "That would make me no better than you." Instead, she sent a pulse of silver-black energy through the plague network. Every infected wolf suddenly glowed with the same mixed light, the plague burning away from inside out. In seconds, dozens of wolves were freed, collapsing but alive. Javan stared in horror as his army dissolved. "You're destroying it all." "No," Lyrelai corrected. "I'm transforming it." She approached Corveth, who lay twisted in agony from the pure plague. "Even you deserve a choice," she said, kneeling beside him. "Accept judgment for your crimes, or die here." "Save me," he gasped. She pressed her hand to his chest, burning out the plague but leaving him weakened, mortal. "You'll live long enough to face justice." Only Javan remained, backing away from the freed wolves who now surrounded him with hostility. "You think you've won?" He laughed bitterly. "You have no idea what you've become, Moon Healer. The plague isn't gone. It's part of you now. You're not wolf anymore. You're something else. Something that shouldn't exist." "Maybe," Lyrelai agreed. "But I exist anyway." The eclipse suddenly flared brighter, bathing everything in crimson. Lyrelai felt a pull, ancient and irresistible, drawing her toward the moon itself. "What's happening?" Carrion reached for her, but his hand passed through her arm as if she were made of moonlight. "The price," Elder Melith said, appearing on the roof with other pack members. "Moon magic demands balance." She took the plague into herself, saved dozens of wolves. Now the moon claims its due. "No," Carrion said. "We just found each other." Lyrelai's form was becoming translucent, her body converting to pure energy. She could feel herself being pulled into the moon's embrace, becoming one with the celestial power she'd channeled. "I won't let you go," Carrion swore, grabbing her fading hands. Through their bond, she felt him pouring his own life force into her, trying to anchor her to the physical world. "You'll die," she protested. "Then we die together." But Tavira, weak but determined, crawled forward. "No," she said firmly. "Nobody's dying tonight." The young wolf pressed her small hands over their joined ones. Mom always said the moon provides, but family endures. We're family now, aren't we? By pack, by bond, by choice? Something shifted. The pull lessened. Around them, every freed wolf began to move closer. One by one, they placed their hands on Lirali, Carrion, and Tavira, forming a living chain. Pack is strength, they chanted, an ancient ritual Lirelai had only heard in stories. Moon provides, pack endures. We claim this wolf as ours. The energy shifted, no longer pulling Lirelai away but cycling through the pack, each wolf taking a tiny fraction of the plague's burden, diluting it until it became harmless. Together, Mayleith said. That's what you forgot, Javan. Wolves aren't meant to be alone. The pack's combined strength held Lirelai to the earth, but the moon's pull hadn't ended. It had merely changed. As the wolves chanted, celestial light began to emanate from every member of the pack, connecting them in a web of luminous threads with Lirelai at the center. Something's different, Mayleith whispered, her ancient eyes widening. This isn't just a claiming ritual. The moon is choosing. The eclipse pulsed 3 times, each pulse sending waves of energy through the gathered wolves. With each wave, Lirelai felt herself changing, not fading now, but transforming into something unprecedented. The eclipse prophecy is real? Javan gasped from where he lay defeated. You fools! You've triggered it. What prophecy? Carrion demanded, still pouring his strength into maintaining his mate's physical form. Javan laughed bitterly. The ancient texts I found spoke of this. When conditions align perfectly, when a moon healer bonds with an alpha king under an eclipse, when plague and healing merge as one, the moon goddess returns. Either the age of wolves ends, or it evolves. The luminous threads connecting the pack suddenly turned gold, then silver again, pulsing between the 2 colors. Each pulse brought visions, flashes of possibility that all could see. Wolves walking freely among humans. No more hiding, no more fear. But also, wars. Humans hunting wolves with weapons they couldn't fight. Peace between packs. Unity under a single throne. But also, tyranny. Freedom lost to absolute rule. Power beyond imagination. Wolves ascending to their true potential. But also, corruption. Power poisoning even the purest hearts. The moon demands a choice, Mayleith interpreted. What future will you choose, Moon Healer? What price will you pay? Lirelai felt the weight of decision crushing down on her. Every path led to triumph and tragedy in equal measure. How could she choose the fate of all wolves? You don't choose alone, Carrion said through their bond. We choose together. The pack chooses, Tavira added weakly. Isn't that what unity means? But before anyone could respond, a new voice cut through the night. Cold, ancient, and definitely not mortal. Actually, the choice has already been made. Everyone turned to see a figure materializing from moonlight itself. She was tall, ethereal, with silver hair that seemed to move without wind and eyes that held the depth of eternity. The moon goddess. Mayleith dropped to her knees. The goddess laughed, a sound like silver bells. Goddess is just a title, Elder. I'm simply the first moon healer, the one who started this cycle thousands of years ago. She approached Lirelai, studying her with ancient eyes. You've done something I never could, child. You merged light and dark, plague and healing. You didn't choose between saving or destroying. You transformed. I don't understand, Lirelai managed. The prophecy was never about choosing one future. It was about finding someone strong enough to hold all possibilities simultaneously. The goddess touched Lirelai's forehead. Someone who could be bridge between all worlds, wolf and human, alpha and omega, light and dark. Power surged through Lirelai, not painful this time but completing. She felt herself expanding, not physically, but spiritually, becoming connected to every wolf who had ever lived, who would ever live. But such power requires anchors, the goddess continued, turning to Carrion, an alpha king as mate, to ground her to the present. Then to Tavira, family as heart, to remind her of love. Finally to the pack, and a pack as foundation, to keep her humble. "What are you making me?" Lyrelai asked. "The first lunar prime," the goddess replied. "Neither fully wolf nor fully moon, but something between. You'll walk in both worlds, bridge all divides. Through you, wolves will finally step out of shadows, not through force or revelation, but through gradual understanding." "That's not an answer," Carrion said protectively. The goddess smiled at him. "Your mate will be immortal as long as the moon rises, but she'll also be mortal as long as you live. She'll have power beyond measure, but only when defending others. She'll be able to grant the moon's gifts to worthy wolves, but never force them." "And the plague?" Lyrelai asked. "Will become your greatest tool. You've transformed it from a weapon of destruction into one of healing. Wolves who are dying can choose your transformed plague as medicine. It will either heal them completely or grant them peaceful passage." Javan struggled to his feet, rage twisting his scarred features. "You're making her a god." "No," the goddess corrected. "I'm making her what she already chose to be, a healer who sacrifices for others, an Omega who stands against injustice, a wolf who chooses love over power." She began to fade. The eclipse sets soon. When it does, the transformation will complete. But know this. She looked directly at Corveth, who cowered in chains. "Those who use the plague for evil will face judgment. The moon remembers all sins." As the goddess vanished, Corveth began to scream. The plague marks on his skin turned silver, burning like brands. "Please, make it stop." "I can't," Lyrelai said, though she felt no satisfaction in his suffering. "The moon's justice isn't mine to control." "But mercy is," Carrion said quietly. He looked at Lyrelai. "If you're to bridge all worlds, perhaps starting with mercy would show your intent." Lyrelai considered, then placed her hand on Corveth's forehead. The burning ceased, though the marks remained. "You'll live. You'll remember what you did, and you'll spend your life making amends." Corveth collapsed, sobbing with both relief and genuine remorse. The eclipse was beginning to fade, crimson light softening to regular silver. As it did, Lyrelai's form solidified, but she was changed. Her hair now had silver streaks that caught moonlight, her eyes swirled with subtle silver threads, and when she moved, she seemed to leave faint after-images of light. "How do you feel?" Carrion asked, pulling her close. "Different. Complete. Like I finally know who I'm supposed to be." She turned to address the pack. "I know you didn't ask for this, for your rejected Omega to become something supernatural. If you want us to leave?" "Leave," a young warrior interrupted. "You saved us all. You freed us from the plague. You're our Luna, our moon healer, our bridge to a better future." One by one, the pack wolves knelt, not in submission, but in respect. "Rise," Lyrelai said softly. "We're pack. We stand together." As they stood, Javan made one last desperate move. He pulled a hidden blade, lunging not for Lyrelai but for Tavira. "If I burn, you burn with me," he said. Everything happened in slow motion. Lyrelai moved, not with wolf speed but with something faster, moonlight speed. She appeared between Javan and Tavira, the blade piercing her chest. But instead of blood, moonlight poured from the wound. "Impossible," Javan gasped. "I told you," Lyrelai said sadly. "I'm something new now." The light from her wound wrapped around Javan, and for a moment, everyone could see into his soul. The fear, the pain, the betrayal that had turned him rogue. The pack that had rejected him for being weak. The mate who had died from the original plague tests. Years of loneliness and rage that had twisted him into something monstrous. I see you, Lyrelai whispered. I see your pain. Let me heal it. No, Javan struggled, but the light held him. I don't deserve. Nobody deserves grace. That's what makes it grace. The celestial light entered him, and his scars began to fade, not just physical ones, but the spiritual wounds that had twisted him into a monster. The rage that had sustained him for years melted away, leaving only exhaustion and regret. When the light faded, Javan stood transformed, still scarred, but the madness gone from his eyes. He looked at his hands in wonder, then at Lirali in awe. You healed my soul. The moon provides, she said simply. Will you accept judgment for your crimes? He nodded, tears streaming down his face. I'll accept whatever justice you decree. Then you'll work to heal those you hurt. Every wolf you infected, you'll help restore. Every family you destroyed, you'll serve. And perhaps, in time, you'll find redemption. The eclipse finally set completely, and regular moonlight bathed the roof. In that softer light, everything seemed possible. The pack stood together, unified in a way they'd never been before. Former enemies stood side by side, understanding that they were all part of something greater now. 3 months after the eclipse, Silver Peak territory had transformed beyond recognition. The pack house, once rigid with hierarchy, now bustled with wolves of all ranks working together. In the healing chambers, Lyrelai taught young wolves to harness moon magic, a gift that appeared more frequently now that she could awaken it in those with potential. Focus on the feeling, not the power, she instructed a nervous Omega pup whose hands glowed faintly. Healing comes from love, not force. Carrion watched from the doorway, pride warming his chest through their bond. 3 months of being mated, and he still marveled at how she'd changed everything. Admiring your mate again? Tavira teased, appearing beside him. Now nearly 17, she'd grown into her own power, not moon magic, but something else. She could sense truth in any wolf's words, a gift that made her invaluable in the new order they were building. Always, he replied without shame. The integration hadn't been easy. Many packs resisted the changes. Omegas given equal voice, rogues offered redemption instead of death, the rigid hierarchy softening into something more collaborative. But with Lyrelai's bridge between worlds and Carrion's royal authority, progress was steady. My lord, a messenger arrived, bearing news from the northern citadel. The human ambassadors have agreed to meet. Carrion's eyes widened. For generations, wolves had hidden from humanity. Now, with Lyrelai's ability to bridge worlds, they were taking the first steps toward coexistence. When? He asked. Next full moon. They're sending their Council of Science. They want to understand what we are. Later that evening, as the pack gathered for the communal hunt, another new tradition, Lyrelai stood before them all. Where once she'd stood in chains as a rejected Omega, now she stood free, glowing faintly with inner moonlight. 3 months ago, I accepted my fate, she began. I thought I was accepting death. Instead, I found life. We all did. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Change is coming, she continued. The human world will soon know we exist. Some will fear us. Some will hate us. But some will understand. We must be ready to show them who we really are. Not monsters, not legends, but people. Different, yes, but worthy of respect. What if they try to destroy us? Someone called out. Then we'll defend ourselves. But we won't strike first. We won't become the monsters they imagine. She looked at Javan, who stood with the reformed rogues he now led in restoration work. We've learned that even the most lost can find their way home. Corveth stepped forward. His punishment had been unique, stripped of his beta rank but not exiled. Instead, he served the Omegas he'd once oppressed, learning humility through service. The silver scars from the moon's justice remained, a permanent reminder. I request permission to speak, he said humbly. Lyrelai nodded. I spent years spreading poison. he admitted to the pack. Not just the plague, but poisonous ideas. That Omegas were less than. That power meant dominance. I was wrong. He knelt before Lirelai. You showed me mercy when I deserved none. I pledge my remaining years to proving worthy of that mercy. The pack listened in stunned silence. The proud, cruel beta they'd known was gone, replaced by someone genuinely repentant. Rise, Lirelai said. Redemption isn't granted, it's earned daily. Keep earning it. As the gathering dispersed for the hunt, Melith approached. The elder moved slower these days, but her eyes remained sharp. The moon goddess visited my dreams, she said quietly. The transformation isn't complete. What do you mean? Carrion asked, instantly alert. Lirelai carries something new, something that will bridge our kinds permanently. Lirelai's hand moved instinctively to her stomach, and through their bond, Carrion felt her sudden awareness. You're pregnant, he breathed. With the first of the new generation, Melith confirmed, children who will be both wolf and moon-touched from birth. They'll walk freely in both worlds. Tears streamed down Lirelai's face as Carrion pulled her close. We're having a pup? We're having a future, she corrected. The full moon rose over Silver Peak, no longer crimson but silver bright and full of promise. Across the territory, wolves howled, not in threat or sorrow, but in celebration. The rejected Omega who'd accepted her fate had become the bridge to a new world. In the healing chambers, young wolves learned that power meant responsibility. In the training grounds, alphas and omegas sparred as equals. In the archives, scholars documented their history to share with humanity. And at the heart of it all, a moon-touched healer and her alpha king stood together, proof that sometimes the greatest strength came from accepting who you truly were. The age of hiding was ending. The age of understanding had begun. All because one Omega had the courage to speak 5 words: I accept my fate.